I'm Mark Halperin.
And I'm John Heilemann. And with all due respect to Democratic Party unity, good evening, sports fans. We are here tonight in Clear Lake, Iowa. That's 2 hours north of Des Moines, out in front of the historic Surf Ballroom, the place where Buddy Holly and Richie Valens and the Big Bopper played their last performances before they died tragically in a plane crash back in 1959. We are not here for music. We are here for the 12th annual Iowa Democratic Wing Ding Dinner. 2,000 Democrats in attendance, more than 1,000 chicken wings to be eaten, and some very animated Martin O'Malley and Hillary Clinton supporters out on the street chanting behind us. There's going to be speeches all night. Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, the main event tonight, Mark, but really a lot of focus on Bernie Sanders. The last time these two were together, 3 weeks ago on the same stage, 3 weeks ago in Cedar Rapids. In the last 3 weeks, it's been nothing but good for Bernie Sanders, coast to coast, except for here in Iowa, where Hillary Clinton has maintained and even expanded her lead. So over the next 3 days, while Bernie is all over the state of Iowa, including at the state fair, what does Bernie have to do to make up ground in Iowa?
One quick correction, 10,000 chicken wings, not 1,000 chicken wings.
I said 1,000? I'm sorry. 10,000 chicken wings.
Bernie Sanders, as you said, has risen in the New Hampshire polls. The latest CNN poll has him not doing as well here in Iowa. 3 days of events, side by side tonight, side by side at the fair. He's got one event on Sunday at Town Hall. They've moved to a bigger venue. I think he needs to show that mojo of big crowds, and he needs to perform her, I think, both tonight and at the fair.
I think it would be bad for him if the crowds here are seen as being minimal compared to the huge crowds he had on the West Coast, up in Seattle and Portland and in Los Angeles. I also think there's going to come a time, not where Bernie Sanders has to go negative on Hillary Clinton in the way that he thinks of it, like personal, but he has still been very restrained in terms of drawing explicit contrasts. I think he's got to go a little bit more there if he's going to get over her.
The other thing is, you know, at the fair, it's a venue that's good for him. We won't see this weekend, but they need to use these organizing opportunities to collect emails, addresses, and build an organization. The Clinton people clearly are investing resources in building an organization in the state. There's still an open question. How much is Sanders willing to do the hard work, county by county, precinct by precinct organizing in this state?
Got to organize, and you got to eat a pork chop on a stick. All right, our second topic tonight has to do with Hillary Clinton explicitly. We've had news reports in the last couple of days that have rocked the Democratic world. One news report that says that Al Gore and Al Gore's supporters, more his supporters, are trying to get him into the race, and that there's some movement in Al Gore's world to get him in to challenge Hillary Clinton. We also know that there's some movement in Joe Biden's world, but the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal say there's more movement there, that Biden on vacation is making phone calls now. So, Mark, I have the question I have for you is twofold. One, who's more likely to get in, Gore or Biden, two titanic figures in the history of vice presidencies, and who would be more problematic for Hillary Clinton if they got in?
Biden's more likely to get in. Gore would be more problematic for it. Gore would create such psychodrama and such attention, and I think would be more unbound than Biden, who's very friendly with Hillary Clinton. I don't think Gore will get in. I think everyone in the Democratic Party, what all this is a manifestation of, they do not trust going into the fall, into the winter with Hillary Clinton as the only establishment choice to go into a general election. I think the vacuum is going to be filled by someone. Could be Biden, won't be Gore, could be someone else.
I think in the end, you know, I like that analysis a lot. There's part of Al Gore who I spent a lot of time with back in 2006 when he was thinking about running. You're right, he hates Hillary Clinton, does not like her at all, would like to take her on. He also hates campaigning. That's what held him back in 2008, even as he thought about running against her. I think if he could get himself over that hump, and he might just have enough messianism about him now that maybe Al Gore will actually get in this race. And I do think he would be a huge problem for her if he got in.
I've said before, despite what a static analysis of the polls say, that Biden would actually help Hillary if he got in the race.
I don't know about
Gore
that.
Gore would not. Gore would be bad news for her because it would be such an incredible story. He would get a ton of coverage, and he would also, I think, make common cause with Bernie Sanders on a lot of issues.
Interestingly here, I was talking to Jennifer Jacobs from the Register today, talking about the calls for Biden to get in Iowa. She said that it's basically split down the middle in terms of the people that want him in. There are real establishmentarians who would otherwise be Hillary supporters, but there are also real progressive activists who would otherwise be Bernie Sanders supporters. So it might actually draw from both sides if he got in.
Biden has a lot of support in this state. All right, our Bloomberg colleagues, Chris Strom and Del Quentin Wilbur, had a very big scoop. They talked to an attorney for the Denver-based company that was managing Hillary Clinton's private email server back starting in 2013. And that person said that the data on Clinton's private server was migrated to another server, and that data still exists. John, this comes at the end of a week of developments in the server story. If true, if this person, talked to our colleagues, was speaking the truth that the data existed somewhere else, how big a story is that in this email story?
If true, I think pretty big. I don't think this is incremental. There's now talk about some mysterious company in New Jersey that could have all of this data. If that data is out there and it exists, Republicans are going to do everything in their power to try to find it. And because of now the classified information controversy, they're going to have a lot of a predicate to get that information. Yep. If it exists, they will get it, and if they get it, that is big
It's a
trouble.
big deal. Later in the show, we're going to play a little bit of Jeb Bush. I asked him a question today at the Iowa State Fair, going hard after Hillary Clinton on the email question. Just a little while ago in Dubuque, Hillary Clinton, perhaps to change the subject and create a little news and create a little mischief, went hard after Jeb Bush on Iraq.
I do think it's, a little bit surprising to hear Jeb Bush talk about this. He expects the American people to have a collective case of amnesia, and particularly the fact that George W. Bush signed the agreement with Maliki setting the withdrawal date of the end of 2011. Something else we inherited.
Now, Jeb Bush has been on defensive for a long time on Iraq.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton here going on offense on it.
Yeah.
What do you think the significance of that is?
Well, look, in this course of this week, she's gone after Donald Trump. She's gone after Marco Rubio. She's gone after Scott Walker. Now it's Jeb Bush's time in the Hillary Clinton barrel. She likes being on offense, and I think part of it is to get away from these other discussions, but also because I think she thinks these are winning arguments for her in a general election.
Yeah, vulnerability. The Democrats think Jeb is so vulnerable on this that it could actually hurt him on the question of electability. And obviously, every day the emails are in the news. She wants to try to make news on something, and going after Jeb Bush on Iraq makes news.
And he also very conveniently over the last 24 hours gave her some grist for the mill as he's said things that have been relatively defending policies of his brother. I get why he has to do it, but it is going to lead to this kind of thing, not just from Hillary Clinton, but from others.
She'll be here tonight, of course, and then tomorrow at the fair. It's going to be interesting to see how much she keeps trying to mix it up with not just Jeb, but as you said, with the other Republicans.
She's taking questions from reporters at the fair tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those are going to be on email.
Big day at the fair. Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, and Bernie Sanders all at the fair. All right, coming up, our day at the Iowa State Fair with Governor Jeb Bush as he walked around. But first, next, a conversation with longtime Iowa Senator Charles Grassley about the fair, the Republican presidential race, and the concerns he's got over those Clinton emails. That's all next after this word from our sponsors.
We are back here in Clear Lake, Iowa. The site of tonight's big Iowa Democratic Wing Ding Ding-a-Ling dinner. As we mentioned, one of the things looming over the proceedings are Hillary Clinton's email troubles. Earlier today, down in Des Moines at the State Fair, I had the chance to sit down with proud Iowan and Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley. I asked him if the new developments in the Clinton story had increased his level of concern over Benghazi.
This is not just a Clinton thing, because my reputation goes back to overseeing both Republican and Democrat administrations. So I'm concerned about the enforcement of the law. I'm concerned about the FBI doing the proper investigation. And most importantly, the transparency that the president promised. These emails should get to the intelligence community, IG, very quickly, because that person is the best person capable of deciding whether or not what is top secret and what isn't, as well as whether or not the law has been violated. But we got to make sure that the law is carried out.
When you read the story specifically about the question of there being potentially another server in which those emails have been backed up, is there something that you want to call on Secretary Clinton to do about that, or do you? Is there something what's the next step in terms of, now that we know that that might be true, what next?
Well, I'll tell you what needs to be done, and then I'll tell you what I've done so far myself. Right. Even before a backup server, I had written 8 letters to either the FBI or the Secretary of State to get answers to a lot of these questions, some of them preliminary to what we know now. And then secondly, whatever is available for email, I expect to be made public, particularly in a presidency where the president in his second day in office said we're going to be the most transparent of any administration in the history of the country. We shouldn't have to mess around. Everything should be available according to the law, and the law should be followed, and the violation of securing top secret information is a threat to our national security.
Last question on this topic. Are you confident that the Obama administration, Justice Department, FBI, are you confident in their ability to undertake this investigation in the way that you think is proper? I'm
confident that the FBI will do it because I have that much faith in the FBI director, right, Mr. Comey. Right. Other people, I think we got enough proof through IRS, a lot of other investigations, that maybe this presidency thinks there's something to hide, and they ought to hide it until they get out of office.
All right, let me ask you, I said I was going to ask you about the Iowa State Fair. How many times have you been to this event?
First came probably 1961 or 62. Came in frequently until I was elected to Congress, and I've been here every year since 1975.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
1975, if my math is right, and I think it is, that's 40 years.
Yes.
40 years in a row.
Yeah, and I usually come 2 or 3 days. I don't come for the full 10 days.
Right, but you're also not just a tourist. You don't just show up once. You're here multiple days.
Yes.
Okay. What's the most striking political memory you have in all the politics you've seen play out here? Can you remember anything particularly vivid that's taken place at this fair?
Yeah, there was Senator Thompson running for president. You remember that?
Fred Thompson?
Yeah, Fred
I remember
Thompson.
That. I remember him well.
He came here with all the television cameras that every person that came here has with them, yeah, if they're running for president. Yeah. We walked down the streets. I tried to get him to go over here to shake hands with somebody, over here to shake hands with somebody. He wanted to just walk down the middle, yeah, and the story got out that Chuck Grassley was running for president, and he had a movie star with him.
Yeah, that turned out not to be true.
No.
Although that tells you something about Fred Thompson's campaign, which was not the most energetic campaign ever run. The big story going on right now is the rise of Donald Trump in this state and elsewhere. What I think of Iowans as sensible, plain-spoken, down-to-earth, salt of the earth. What is it that's got Iowans, a large number of them, excited about Donald Trump? What's the appeal there to Iowans?
I think it's the outrage that he expresses. And that outrage fits into exactly what you think Iowans are concerned about. There's a lot of cynicism about political leaders generally. There is a lot of distrust of Washington, D.C., and I think that that's what's being shown in a Trump candidacy. It might also be shown in the doctor or a couple other people that are running. Carlia is another example.
Do you think that Donald Trump could win the Iowa caucuses? Is that a plausible outcome?
I think that lots unpredictable. For instance, 4 years ago, we had Michelle Bachmann win the straw polls. Right. And did very poorly. Right. So I wouldn't want to predict until maybe December. If you'll ask me that same question, right, I might be able to answer it with a little more certainty.
And do you think that arriving at this event in a helicopter and then proceeding directly to the Butter Cow, that's like a good strategy for how to work the fair?
It's a good strategy to go to the Butter Cow.
Right, okay. Yeah. The helicopter you're not so sure about.
I'm not so sure.
Right. If you were offered a ride in that helicopter tomorrow, will you take one?
Of course I would.
Oh, you would?
Yeah.
Right. Have you ever been in a helicopter above the fair?
No, but I've been in a helicopter before.
And you enjoy that?
Yeah.
Jeb Bush is here today. Do you think Jeb Bush is a good candidate for the state of Iowa?
Oh, it depends on how he works Iowa. When he says he's going to compete here, and if he works hard, he would do well, I think.
Why do you think he is not, so far, not faring all that well in the polls here? He's down 6th, 7th place, down about 5%. What's the explanation for that?
His last name is Bush.
And that means what?
Well, that means that Americans, like maybe they don't think there should be another Clinton presidency or another Kennedy presidency. They don't like dynasties.
Right. And you think that's a significant problem for him? Not necessarily that they associate with him with his brother, George W. Bush, but that the dynastic implications of it put people off.
Yeah. He is a qualified person to be president of the United States. Right. And nobody should be judged by what their last name is. But I think that's part of the issue. And but I think he can overcome that.
Right.
And overcome it. He's already doing very well. He's proven in a lot of his statements and his speeches that he is going to follow the Jeb Bush line, not the George W. or the George H.W. Bush line. He's part of the family, but that doesn't carry over to what policies.
Scott Walker, the governor of Wisconsin, had been doing very well in this state for a long while and still is doing pretty well here. Do you attribute that, his strength here in Iowa, to the fact that he's a neighbor primarily? Do you attribute it primarily to the fact that he's a kind of a neighbor in Wisconsin? Or do you think he has a particular set of qualities that are particularly a good fit for Iowa?
Both, but that's not the most important two things that you mentioned. The thing that is most important he's demonstrated that he's willing to take on the special interests, and he not only took on the special interests, but he won in taking on the special interests, and then in turn, in his first election, his recall, and his second election, so 3 elections in 4 years, the special interests took him on, and he defeated them.
Do you think that the social conservatives in Iowa will eventually coalesce behind a single candidate, or will that be a fractured, fragmented thing when we get to caucus time?
As of right now, I'd say it'd be fractured, but maybe if you'd asked me that same question in December, I'd give you a different answer.
Who do you think has the best chance of being the consolidator of that group?
Dr. Carson.
Thanks to Senator Grassley. Coming up, a Jeb's eye view of the Iowa State Fair after this break.
This morning at the State Fair, Jeb Bush took his turn on the Des Moines Register soapbox. We had a chance to hear him speak there. We also got some time with him off stage to talk about his day there. Here now, our day at the fair with Jeb Bush.
What's the record of a number of hands shaken in a 4.5-hour period? I'm trying to break it. Well, anyway, things are good.
Thank you.
You're going to be here all 10 days?
No, I'm only here 2 days.
Nope, I go to annual training on Monday.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Duty comes first.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was a little bit excruciating listening to small talk. It's hard for these politicians in front of all those cameras to make the kind of small talk that wouldn't be embarrassing, but it was a little bit awkward. Governor, what's it like to toggle between a foreign policy thing like you did yesterday and something like this? Easy?
Yeah. This is, God, look how pretty this is. Very easy. Very easy.
Governor, you say you like to focus on issues and not distractions. Is this email issue with Secretary Clinton an issue or a distraction?
It's an issue in the sense that it violated the president's own policies. Anybody that's not had a security clearance, apparently the Chinese now have that information. As I understand it, it's 100 pages of information, a treasure trove of knowledge about people. This will keep them going for a long while, and so that lack of leadership, I think, is what's at stake here.
So he does gaggle, and then he goes in here and holds, and they stop the press from going in. So you've got the spectacle of a bunch of people here waiting out for Jeb Bush to come back and walk more around the fair. Very typical of how the politics works. Not so typical at the fair, so people are kind of a little on edge. Like, where's Jeb Bush, and what is he doing? He's in there walking around. Not exciting, but inaccessible currently. What was the first car you owned?
First car I owned?
Like your favorite, like really, it's not a hand-me-down.
I had a, it was a hand-me-down.
What was it?
When I bought it, but it was a VW bus.
Was it like tricked out?
No.
Governor Bush, welcome to the Register Soapbox.
Thank you so much. Thank you all very much. What a joy to be here. I support higher standards. The term Common Core is so darn poisonous, I don't even know what it means. Hang on, sir. Hang on. We'll get you. You're next, okay? So don't let the head explode. Right now we have 3,500 soldiers and Marines in Iraq already. We have no strategy. It kind of creeps up. We're responding incrementally to the challenges that exist rather than having a strategy. Excuse me?
You had to get out in 2011.
We didn't have to get out in 2011.
Sign the deal.
It could have been modified, and that was the expectation. Everybody in Iraq and everybody in Washington knew that this deal could have been expanded. And now what we need to do, now we need to do something else, which is to deal with the fact that we have Islamic terrorists organized as a caliphate, and the way that you take them out is to rebuild the Iraqi military, provide arms and support for the Kurdish Peshmerga, to re-engage with the Sunnis, to be able to have a strategy to take them out.
Did you beat the soapbox?
Yeah.
But in some sense, he didn't really get rattled. I'd say, he did it. He survived the soapbox.
Yeah, I think so too. Look, I think first of all, he toured this place this morning, did a bunch of stuff for the press, a bunch of gaggles. I thought he seemed more at ease this morning and a little bit more optimistic and a little bit more smiley than he did last night.
Now, the thing that other people have already started to seize on is this notion of Common Core, where he said, I don't even know what it means anymore.
Right, yes.
I'm not sure that's going to be a long-term way to deal with this position. But saying, I've never heard of Common Core. What's that? But
the whole concept has become so confusing. Let's not speak of that. So let's speak of other matters.
But standing up, big crowd, hot sun, some hecklers, some tough questions. I thought he did pretty good. All right, so you just held a press availability while eating pork. I'm wondering if you'll commit as president to have all your press conferences while you eat Iowa pork.
That would be fun. Wow.
Hi.
Billy? What did you do?
I started in 1970.
Pretty good.
Governor, you have any tattoos?
Jim, honey.
How are ya? Good to see you.
Is that a no?
I'll sneak through again quick time.
No, I was just trying to play.
Did you ever get close?
No. That I can remember.
Working hard. If you're ever in town on a Sunday, I'd love to take you to Mass.
Yes.
Yeah, St. Boniface out in Waukegan. Yeah. I appreciate your story with Catholicism. I grew up Irish.
You grew up, so.
Yeah.
No, it's an important part of my life.
Governor, getting elected one vote at a time, is that a challenge?
330 million people, it's a challenge for sure, but this is how you win in Iowa.
Sitting people one-on-one, retail politics, talking
you don't want to lob it in. You got to be here. You can't helicopter in and leave. You got to be all in.
Our thanks to Governor Bush and the good folks at the State Fair. More from Iowa coming up next.
Our weekend in Iowa is just getting started. We are back at the State Fair on Monday with more from the soapbox and a recap of Hillary's time at the fair and Mr. Trump's with the butter cow. Tune in then, and in the meantime, check out BloombergPolitics.com for more.
Thanks for watching. Remember, we're on twice a day at 5 and at 8. Until Monday, back here in Iowa from Des Moines in the State Fair. Thanks for watching. Sayonara.